Hey, welcome back to Mental Game Live. I believe this is episode number 35. I never thought we'd get this far. I never thought we'd go this long. But here we are in 2024, and welcome to be back. A lot going on. Bash, how you doing?
Cold, man. It's cold.
It is cold. It is definitely not for the warmth. I know our colleagues that are watching in Canada are probably like, what is it? Like, minus something. No, it's -5 below the freezing mark. So it's 27.
-5 below freezing.
Yeah, -5 below freezing. So we just want to act like it's really bad, right?
Yeah.
Man, so much going on. Hey, before we kind of get into the whole idea of change, I got a little theory to throw out to you. I know you're busy with young kids. You watched any of the NFL recently?
I have, yeah.
Okay. Philadelphia Eagles, massive collapse.
Yeah.
10-1 to first round playoff out, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I want to challenge you here for a minute. Did anything happen in the month of December that indicated a problem within the organization that may have been a sign that there was a bigger issue at play here?
With the Eagles?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back.
E-L-E-S-R, out.
Yeah. Seems like stuff with Jalen Hurts went a little south.
Well, I will tell this, having seen Jalen for a long time. Jalen has a very stoic mindset, and you sometimes can't tell if he's excited or frustrated.
Yeah.
He's a baller. He plays through unbelievable injuries. He played through a dislocated throwing finger. I don't know about that. That's pretty bizarre to me.
Sure.
But there was something that happened on the sidelines against the San Francisco 49ers where the head of security, this big old dude named Dom, asserted himself into the national storyline and became the story by getting in a fracas with the dude from the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay,
at which time the NFL had to come out. What's that?
I said I remember this story.
Yeah. So at which time the NFL had to come out and publicly reprimand the Eagles and this Dom dude, who's just a really big bouncer and head of security. Okay, whatever head of security means. And all of a sudden, the NFL had to come out and say he could not be on the sidelines during games anymore. And it hit me at that time that I'm always looking at organizations for cracks in the foundation. And one of the biggest cracks in the foundation, when personalities around the program are bigger than the people who get the job done. It happened to the Giants with Tommy DeVito as the quarterback. His agent started getting all the attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Terrible move. Okay. And the Eagles, I think, are 2-4 and now been eliminated since Dom went nuclear on the sidelines and asserted, like, dude, you're the head of security. Why are you even on the player line part of the field? Who are you to think that you're that much bigger than your superstars? Now, maybe in the locker room, they think it's cool and funny, but to me, it shows a massive breakdown of organizational leadership that you would have such a dude like that in that position. The same with me of Tommy DeVito with my agent on the sidelines. I'm like, you don't need to be on the sidelines in a Sopranos dress before the game.
Yeah.
Do your job from home. That's fine. My job is to do my job. That drove me nuts. That absolutely drove me nuts to see that. Both of those.
Yeah, it's I guess when people start having success, people want to like jump on board and act like you said, act like they have a bigger role than they really do.
So we see that in my field all the time. Okay. Person gives a talk, and then all year long, it's taking credit for that athlete's success.
Or team success.
What's that?
Or full team success.
Oh, yeah, full team success. Had nothing to do with the team itself.
Yeah, they didn't go out there and make the plays. It was one motivational talk they gave at the beginning of the year.
And in my field, people don't have to say, well, I did this, I did that. It's so implied on the way you do it. I'm not saying I do it right. I try to do the best I can. I try to do the most professional manner I can. I got a text from a player the other night that was in addition to the thing that led to a video that we put out. And the text essentially said, it's been 5 months since we last talked. I want to tell you the absolute impact you made on my career. And the mindset that I have, I cannot wait to get started again. And I just felt like I never told you truly thank you for what you did. Now, what I did was I served as a mirror. The dude figured it out on his own. I didn't do anything. But nobody knows I work with this guy. Okay. That followed about 3 days prior to that, a conversation with somebody I value greatly who said, Brett, thank you for never asking for anything in return for everything that you do for us. That hit me right in the emotional chops because that's the way I've always done it, right? And so when I saw that with Tommy DeVito and then I saw that with Big Dom, it was like, it reminded me of a conversation with my old roommate, Todd Walker. Todd's the number one player in college baseball, going to be a top round draft pick, like top 10 draft pick. And all these people would show up at our apartment and trying to get him to use their teaching tools, right? And some of them you look at and you're like, dude, comical, come on, like whatever. I'm sure some of them has some merit. And I remember Todd telling me one day, he goes, I feel like such a jerk for saying this. But when I make it, I want to be the guy who made it. I don't want it to be, I made it because so-and-so developed a tool that helped me make it. Between that and my dad telling me to always stand in the shadows, those are the two inputs that I've always used in my life to think about what my role is, our role in supporting athlete development, to helping individuals do stuff. And it just drives me nuts when I see that. I kind of laugh. Nobody's ever going to call it out and say that. But if you're not in the main circle of the coaches and the players, our job is a support role. Stop taking credit for stuff. Stop taking pictures and acting like you've been the biggest difference maker. Do your job. Let the other people get the acclaim. Fair?
Yeah, that's just how I've always viewed everything. I cringe at some of that stuff just because I get you have to market yourself or whatever, or you don't necessarily have to, but that's the idea.
But to that point, Bash, to interrupt you, one of the things I'm the most proud of in this business that we've got a really good social following. I've never bought a follower, although it's easy to look at how people do it. So-and-so's got 114,000 followers. You look at their Instagram, they have 683 immediate likes 1 minute after posting. And it's all like, dude, you fire me up. Okay, you can buy those. Okay. And then you look for authentic, and besides their best friends, nobody else responds. Okay, I get that. I look at that and it's immediate lack of credibility in my mind. It's like cheating. It's like plagiarism to me. Number two, the thing that I'm most proud of is we built our social platforms based on content. A book that is meaningful to me is a book called Contagious because it talks about the power of social currency. And I remember sitting down with multiple people that I respect a ton in marketing, and they're like, dude, if we can just get some testimonials, if we can get this, if we can get that, if we can do this, and I'm like, I'd rather it be on content. And everyone's like, that's a longer road, man. Long road. It's too easy. Why don't you have so-and-so? Why don't you get Coach Saban to write you a testimony? Coach Saban retired. I never got a ball signed, and I never got a picture with him. But I had many conversations in his office. That wasn't my job. And you know how much I would love to get rid of the endorsements or testimonial part of the website.
Yeah.
It's a daily fight. So I say all this as if you're a coach. I know there's a lot of coaches right now. If you're a coach, your job is to serve. Let somebody else have the success. Stand in the background, leave when the press conference starts, and go to work.
Why do you think that is? Why do they think those individuals feel the need to do that? I mean, it's easy to know why they do it. It's obviously
easy to know why I do it. It's a shortcut. It's a shortcut.
But why do you feel
I think people do it because
get there quicker?
they want to get there quicker. And one of the things I learned a long time ago is that they believe they're always hunting the next client. And a lot of times for people in whatever business we're on, and if you read a book by Seth Godin called The Dip, we have a one hit. We have one tool that we're really good at. Once we utilize that tool, now we have to go find the next person to use the tool with. And so we lack the self-confidence to stay in the relationship to improve them. So we're always upselling. And what I have found in this industry, particularly with some of the highest profile athletes, the power of a picture is a lot more valuable to some people than the paid relationship. So they will give their services away for free in order to take a picture and then claim and stand on the back of them for a long time. So, to me, the point is that you're an expert at what you do. Okay. And as a coach, as a player, like I remember talking to Kurt Ainsworth many years ago. Kurt Ainsworth is the guy who started Marucci Bat Company. Kurt was essentially our bat boy growing up. His brother and I were best of friends, still are. His brother was in my wedding and I was in his. And Kurt, I see like a little pipsqueak, but he's a business mogul, right? And for the longest time, when you went into Marucci, there was not one jersey hanging up on that wall of any of the major league players that used their bat. And they had no contractual deals with any player in Major League Baseball. And yet they were the number one bat in Major League Baseball. His reason was, if our wood can't stand on its own, then we're not good enough. If my content, my product, my systems, my relationships aren't good enough, I don't need to make a promise and hope to get somebody based on what I've done. I don't need to go speak at a sales convention because somebody thinks I work for so-and-so. And that's why I've always done the way I've done. It's a massive pet peeve of mine. It gets me in trouble when I speak up, but it's one of those things that it's like a secret of the game. It's kind of like, knowing the true secret about like supplements and stuff. Like, it just drives me nuts. It's kind of like, can you speak to a company without posting it? Because if you didn't post it, did you really speak to them?
It's not allowed.
Not allowed. No, sir. No, sir. One of the coolest things
Lord knows I would have loved to throw a few testimonials up on the website every now and then.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like my I guess the biggest thing for me is
we're getting a bunch of great questions on Instagram Live. That's what's got me stopped here. And a couple of them don't have the YouTube app on their phone. Like, I mean, come on, man, you can do that. But one of them was like, dude, you should have gotten at least a ball sign. I'm like, no kidding. But now, I mean,
don't they just give those things out like candy?
Huh?
Don't they just pass those out like candy to anybody?
I guess. But here's the deal now, right? Here's the deal. I hate to say this. Coach Saban was the greatest college football coach of all time, right? But guess what? Took less than 48 hours to be replaced. Think you're irreplaceable, guys. People are like, oh, my God, people are going to the portal. So what? Go on.
Yeah, everyone's replaceable.
What do I think about the Cowboys' dismal performance? What do you think about the Cowboys' dismal performance?
It's because they got a Mississippi State quarterback.
Okay. All right. No, he's a Louisiana kid. I think he's really good. I think their organization is about the owner and not the team.
They need a new GM.
They need a new owner. They need a new GM. They need the people to stay out of it and let the experts do their job. This is not – every time an NFL football franchise tries to play fantasy football for the coach, it fails. The Panthers are going down that route now.
Yeah.
So you got rid of my friend as the GM. So I hope you go 0 for 17 for the next 4 years. So Tom asked a question. If the coach's job is to serve, then what's the role of the player? To execute. There was a brilliant, okay, and I'm going to say this because I want you to understand as I'm saying this. This is not a political thing. There was an amazing guy, and I can't remember his name, who was giving a congressional hearing. He's a Air Force Academy graduate, an F-15 fighter pilot, and was dismissed with less than 2 years to go. 2 years to go to his his retirement. 20-year retirement's huge. He was dismissed because he said he made a comment to his unit of like, this is a non-discrimination zone. Like, we're all equal. And he got fired because he wasn't recognizing the different individual groups within his organization. It was a political move, right? And by the military at the time. So he was being brought up in front of Congress to communicate. And he said, let me tell you something. There is one goal in the military. One, lethality. He said, I don't care if you wear a skirt to work. I don't care if your hair is purple. I don't care if anything. What I care about is, are you the best trained human being in your role? And what is your level of lethality? I think when we talk about coaches and players, the question comes down to is, what is your ability to execute when it matters? And if you're not at a high execution, all the other stuff is absolute drama. It takes away all the need for validation, all that. Do you execute when it matters? Greg McElroy, who I'll have on here in the future, former Alabama quarterback, national championship winning coach, our quarterback, is ESPN commentator, play-by-play guy, or color commentator, great radio show here. He had an amazing piece yesterday morning about quarterbacks. And he said, I have a prediction Caleb Williams is going to be a flop because he's entitled. He said, I can't think of a first-round quarterback that has been successful in NFL football who was entitled. But I can give you player after player after player who was hungry. That's the difference, right? So when we ask what our players, at the end of the day, do you execute? Coach Burton used to say, all I care about is the player who executes. But if I have two players that are near equal in their level of execution, I'm going to take the one that brings less drama. Okay? That's what is critical. It's about execution. That's it. It's not about give me an opportunity. It's not about anything else. It's do you execute or do you not? And if you didn't today, are you going to have the self-awareness, the humbleness, the humility to do self-analysis and figure out how to improve your level of execution for the next time you're in that situation? That's it. Are you coachable? Do you learn? Do you represent the organization well? And do you get it done when it matters? If you want to boil down what success is across every level, it comes down to that. It's not what your contract is. It's not what your NIL is. It's not what your value of your scholarship is. It's not what girlfriend you have or boyfriend you have. It's do you execute? That's it. Doesn't matter what car you pull up in the parking lot with. It's what matters between the lines, what matters in the competitive moment. Do you execute or not? There's no promises in this game. Did you execute or did you get beat? If you didn't execute, do you have the self-awareness, the humility, and being humble enough to take the review and say, this is how I need to improve? So the Cowboys, too much drama. Don't execute. Okay? Too much hope. Why? People get mad at people and they think they're lucky, like Patrick Mahomes. He freaking executes. Okay? When it's hitting the fan, he executes. Okay? Derek Jeter, for all you old folks, he executed. A-Rod executed when there was no pressure. There was a difference. Okay?
A-Rod was the king of the meaningless three-run homer.
Eighth inning, 3-run home run when you're down by 8. Yep. Okay? And trust me, everybody in the dugout in the clubhouse knew that. Okay? If you want to be a coach, do you execute or not? Is your system capable of putting players in the right position? It's not how smart you are. It's not, I hate to say it, Nick Sirianni, Mike McDaniel, big fan of theirs. It ain't about you guys. It's not. You're not going to out-scheme other dudes. Coaches, your scheme is not so much better than the talent to execute. Very simple. You can have the greatest recipes in the world, but if you can't replicate them, it doesn't. That's it. So if people want to understand what it's like, what it takes when parents call and say, what does my kid need to do to get a scholarship? Execute better. It's not about if this, if that, figure it out. Oh, there's a term you like, isn't it, Bash?
Love it. It's like my whole life's motto.
Yes, figure it out. Nobody asked. And that comes down to this. Obviously, in my life right now, there's a lot of change. I'm good. I'm safe. And I'm excited. And we're talking about what's going on just west of here in Tuscaloosa. Very honored to have worked in Coach Saban's organization with the people I've did for 11 years. I got to see some amazing stuff. I got to be around the greatest college baseball coach of all time, and I got to be around the greatest college football coach of all time. No questions, nothing. And I'm going to write down some notes one day when time is right and really organize my thoughts on this. But there's change going on in our building. And it got me thinking. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on that, but it got me thinking of what happens in change. Whenever we have to make a change, okay, the first thing that we do is that we start searching for certainty. What is known in a cycle in a world of chaos? What is known? And unfortunately, most of the time that pops up are the fear-based mechanisms. Well, we know that being broke sucks. We know that I don't have a job. We know that there's change. I don't know if this those are all as much certainty as we can get. And so as a result, we resist. The first emotion is after fear is resistance. Whoa, I don't know what's happening. I want you to make a change. Whoa, I want you to do this. Whoa. And then our ego gets involved. And then it starts putting in the layers of protection. It puts in the layers of what we really need. What are the lines of safety and security that we need to have built around us? And so when organizational change happens, people start panicking and overvaluing what they do and what that role is because it's certain. Years ago, when I was in the pharmaceutical industry, I went through a couple layoffs. And my division was okay. We were a very elite, say this wrong, we were a very valuable force in what we did. We produced at a very high level, but there's always organizational change, and you hate to see it. But there was a time I was in Disney World on the last day of our vacation, and I got a call from my boss that said, we all need to be on a call tomorrow at 11 o'clock, mandatory. Doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, anything. The only excuse to that is if you're in surgery or in the air. That's it. Okay? So I call in from the hotel. Yep. The new boss reads, brand new director, reads a statement from legal. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I am the new director of this division. We have been evaluating our expenditures and our organizational vision, and we'll be doing a restructuring. Everybody, please be at your desk tomorrow between 9 and 11. If you receive a phone call, you will be terminated, and we'll have the separation policy. And at 11:15, if you have not received a phone call, then your boss will call you, and we'll talk about the reorganization. And I'm sitting in Disney World. Now,
Yikes.
Okay, the two biggest layoffs that had ever happened, I had already accepted a position with another company when the layoff happened at Merck. So fortunate. And the one that when I was at Bristol Myers Squibb, the one I'm talking about, I was in the process of building the mine site. So there was a part of me that was hoping for the layoff. Okay. But it was still scary. And so I go back the next day, I get home and I sit at my desk for 2 hours, just sat there. Because there was no reason sending company emails. There was no reason to do anything. I just sat there and played solitaire on my phone for 2 hours and waited for the phone to ring. And this was a time before cell phones. We had to have a company line in our office because that was secure. And you sat there. And during that time, my mind was all over the place. And out of the 32 that we had, 24 of my colleagues were terminated. 8 of us maintained. And my boss got to pick her 8, and they picked the 24 that they wanted. And when I say they, our company had split with our partner, and the partner took the 24 and then redid a new division, and we worked as colleagues. So it was a very interesting process, and so we got to still work with them. You know, they actually got it made. They got the severance package and then the sign-on bonus, but I didn't want to work for another company or another boss. But it was a very scary place to be, right? And then for the next couple of weeks, we had to go through new organizational, new territories, new travel policies, all these other things. And there was so much resistance in our organization. We had 1 or 2 people who were just naysayers. And I kept saying, guys, just don't worry about it. You've got to have the self-awareness to know that it doesn't matter what's happening. You can always find the pathway. You know, we see all the barriers in our life and change. It highlights every barrier possible. But what we never give ourselves the honesty to look at is what can I do despite the barrier? So what if a wall is being built up in front of me? Can I build a ladder to go over it? Can I build a tunnel to go under it? Can I go around it? So many of us are like, I don't know if you've seen that internet picture of that elephant that's chained around the ankle, and the chain is sitting on a folding chair. The elephant sees the chain but doesn't see what it's attached to. It's attached to nothing. And so many of our lives, when we see change, we see the chain on our ankle, but don't see that it's actually chained to anything other than our ego and our pride. We never see the opportunities that are out there. And we live in a world where we crave stability and certainty. But the reality is this world has zero of it. The only thing is certain is that tomorrow will come. And for some of us, unfortunately, that may not happen. And, I used to tell players, the only thing certain is that you get to play tomorrow. But the reality is, COVID showed that there maybe not be a rest of a season. So what I want you guys to understand when we talk about change is that change is hard for everybody. Nobody likes it. But the beauty of what we do is our ability to lock in what we're capable of doing despite the circumstances we're in. Never build the circumstances bigger. And if you have a breath in your lungs, you have a chance and a potential to do something. If somebody doubts you, get back to execution. If somebody doesn't give you the opportunity, outwork everybody. If they still don't give you the opportunity, find a place to get an opportunity. I don't have a problem with players transferring, not at all. Because all I want are the ones that want to be where they are. If I have 30 guys, that's all I need. 30 women, that's all I need. Okay? LSU baseball was built on the backs of preferred walk-ons. And it was because Coach built us so hungry to wait for the opportunity to execute when it mattered. And we were built around the best players in college baseball, but it was amazing to watch how that worked. See, change is scary. But that's why when we give directions, we say, go to where the old Lloyd's restaurant used to be, even though it's been gone for 10 years. We don't change very well because we want the old patterns. Because the only thing in an old pattern is the past comfort, and the future is uncertain. If you can learn to start embracing the future and the unknown in the future, you have a great chance to do something. What do you do? What do you tell players who work hard or talented but aren't seeing the results they want? Keep at it. Keep solving the puzzle. That's the only thing to tell them. Because the only way to solve the problem is to get back in that environment and get after it again. All right, Bash. Let's go have a good day, okay?
You got a question from Tom.
Yeah.
If players fail to execute, is it a discipline issue, a teaching issue, or what is it?
Well, it depends on what the reason for the failure of execution is.
Maybe that they're not good enough.
They might not be good enough.
That's the hardest. I think that's the hardest realization for some people.
Yeah. We watched, and I'd listened to the podcast. You ever listen to the podcast or seen the show Dr. Death?
Listen to the podcast. I haven't seen the show.
Okay. The neurosurgeon who got through residency and fellowship and really sucked at what he did. Okay. The reality was he was an incompetent surgeon. He just wasn't good enough. He should have been washed out a long time ago. Okay. We should never lower the standards for what the standards demand. And if the standards are equitable, meaning anybody can achieve them, doesn't mean everybody will, but if it's a fair, equitable number that people can achieve, that's the standard. It's yes or no. Okay? That's it. Like, I know for me, I would not be good flying a fighter jet. I'm too freaking big. I wouldn't fit. Okay? And honestly, I probably wouldn't be able to handle the G-forces because I'm not very good at that. I would have loved to have done it. No way. Okay? It's just not what I'm good at. I can't do it. I'm never going to win a 100-yard dash unless I'm racing on people with a 100-yard dash that are worse than me. And it's like, I know what I'm not good at. Okay? That doesn't mean life sucks for me. Find a different way. Find a different way. It's one of the reasons why, and this is going to come off as very controversial. I wish parents would stop telling their kids how smart they are all the time. Well, he's just so smart. They're just so smart. Because when you identify their ability of being smart, what you're doing is telling them that smarts will win everything, not problem solving. You can solve almost any problem that's out there. Tell them that. You're one of the best problem solvers I've ever seen.
I've actually done a lot of I guess not research, but reading on behavior in kids because I have two of them. I'm trying not to screw them up.
You'll screw them up a little bit.
Well, a little bit, but I will. Our oldest is fairly smart, reading just way ahead, so much so that she's bored in kindergarten, because she already knows how to do everything. And I've still heard from people like child psychologists, stuff like that, who deal with childhood development that never praise them for, just like you're saying, never praise them for their aptitude or how smart they are.
No, it's like praising me for being tall. What the hell did I have anything to do with being tall?
Yeah, but praise them for their effort.
Praise them for their
effort, their ability to solve problems, like you're saying, creativity and how they maneuver through adversity and through their development, I guess. Thought it was pretty fascinating.
Yes, it's true. It's like, a couple of years ago, there was this big push not to tell, and having daughters too, don't tell all your girls they're pretty all the time. Tell them they're smart. I'm like, we're just telling them the exact same thing. We're just picking a different trait.
Yeah, it's a different area. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell them I tell you what, you connect to people so beautifully. You really have a caring soul. That's an act. Now you can say what leads to it is you're very smart and you utilize it extremely well in problem solving.
Yep.
Okay. But that doesn't mean you're going to solve every problem, but you don't ever give in. You don't ever quit. You tell our players that, right? Don't use, I hate the terms, you got to be more aggressive. What the hell does that mean? You got to be more gritty. What does that mean? You want me to get knocked down 10 times to show you I can get up 10 times?
Just trust the process, man.
You trust the process. Tell them, look.
What does that mean?
You have a tremendous motor that is the highest energy when you're on the field. And you bring that every single day. Oh, now I know what that means. Right? And so when we are critical on something that is either abstract or a trait, it's really hard. You're too slow. It's what can I do about it? And I am slow. You got to anticipate the movement better. Oh, that makes sense. Now I get it. And that's where the problem is. So when we're talking about coaching and all this, use terminology that has a change value associated with it. Aptitude. A trait doesn't. You're so bald. Yes, I know. What do you want me to do?
Can't help it.
Okay. It's what it is. It's what it is. So, all right, we're going to be back in 2 weeks. I've got some travel coming up. I've got some presentations, some corporate talks coming up. And other than that, I'll guys keep you informed. All right. And everybody have a great one. Mental Game Live, episode 35, and we're out. So see you next time.